Hello, Scaredy Cats, it's me, Scaredy Matt. Who doesn't love the Ghostbusters, that classic children's sitcom about two traveling ghost hunters and their pal, a gorilla in a propeller beanie, getting into all sorts of hijinks and slapstick? Oh, sorry, you probably thought I was talking about the 1984 film of the same name directed by Ivan Reitman? Or perhaps the franchise that evolved from that feature film? Easy mistake to make, I suppose. The previous Ghostbusters show was less popular. I mean, come on, it's friggin' Ghostbusters. It's one of those movies that's so good, that's so beloved, that I don't even want to get into its problematic attitudes towards women and environmental regulatory agencies, because I love it so much. Ghostbusters is the huge part of my childhood, and one of those rare properties that really holds up when revisiting it as an adult. But as a kid, I was definitely more interested in the Ghostbusters cartoon than the live-action version. You remember the Ghostbusters cartoon, right? It was a loose adaptation of the live-action version. It took a few liberties, but it had all of the right stuff. It had the gorilla and the talking skeleton phone. Oh, sorry, you probably thought I was talking about the cartoon series based on the feature film Ghostbusters, and once again, I was referring to the Filmation property of the same name. When I was a kid, when dinosaurs roamed the earth way back in the early 90s, the Canadian children's channel, YTV, actually showed both of these cartoons, and it confused the ever-loving hell out of me. Who the heck were these knuckleheads? These weren't the Ghostbusters. Where's my good friend and role model, Slimer? I know the Ghostbusters, and you, sir, are no Ghostbusters. Here I was, with something strange in my neighborhood, and nobody to call. Back then, you couldn't just hop onto Google and find out what the heck was happening. It was really confusing, a classic case of brand confusion, whereby two competing products are similarly, or in this case, identically named, causing the consumer to be confused about which is which. Like, imagine, for example, and this is just something I'm coming up with off the top of my head, imagine a friend of yours says, "Hey, I just watched this video, I think you'd like it, it's about Ghostbusters, you like Ghostbusters, it's from this horror channel, Scaredy Cats," and so you go onto Google and you Google up Scaredy Cats, and it doesn't show up, it's just a bunch of scared cats. So what you do is you type Scaredy Cats horror, because you want to, see the horror channel Scaredy Cats, and then instead of my content coming up, what comes up is the podcast of the same name released by Gimlet Media. Just now. Like that kind of thing. I digress. Columbia Pictures released Ghostbusters in 1984, but somebody on their legal team frigged up because they neglected to check to see if a property with that name and premise already existed. They were sued by Filmation for violation of copyright and settled for $500,000 and 1% of the film's profits. And if you know anything about the film industry, you know why this wasn't exactly a good deal for Filmation. Hugely successful movies often manage to mysteriously not make profit through shady accounting practices, usually to dodge taxes or to screw people out of royalties, like they did here. So you'd think Filmation would be pretty pissed, right? They caught this major film studio completely jacking their stees, and then made a deal with them so they could work that out, and then the major film studio completely hosed them over. Ghostbusters was this huge, unbelievable success, and Filmation didn't get a dime. Not a single cent of the proceeds. Columbia Pictures had licensed the name Ghostbusters for a movie. One thing they didn't do, though, is license it for animation. I mean, why would you, right? It's a PG-13 movie with tons of sexual innuendo and spooky goblin dogs. It clearly wasn't made for kids. But speaking as someone who was a kid in the late 80s, I ate that shit up. You gotta keep in mind that in the 80s, everything was getting a cartoon to mass market a toy line. Ronald Reagan had eased limitations on advertising to children because he's a ghoul. Part of the problematic deregulation that the original film celebrates, but I am unwilling to criticize it for because Bill Murray is really funny in it.
Everything was fine with our system until the power grid was shut off by Dickless here.
They caused an explosion.
Is this true?
Yes, it's true. This man has no dick.
That meant a glut of shitty cartoons that only existed to sell toys, and a bunch of existing properties that were most certainly not child-friendly being adapted into Saturday morning cartoons. Everything from RoboCop to Rambo to the Toxic Avenger. Ghostbusters, by contrast, seemed pretty tame, and it had a lot of built-in potential for toys. They always carried around crazy weapons and fought silly cartoon ghosts. Just think all the wacky toys you could make, and then sell directly to me, Matthew. Filmation naturally thought, hey, you know what though? We have the animation rights. You have the rights to your characters. This is a partnership waiting to happen. How about we work together and make a cartoon about your version of the Ghostbusters? We have a lot of successful cartoons selling toy lines right now. Just look at He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, which arguably began the whole craze in the first place. And Columbia was like, well, that makes a lot of sense. But no, we're not going to do that. We're going to partner with Deke to make a Ghostbusters cartoon. Which, I mean, I can't really blame them because Filmation's cartoons are pretty garbage. And the cartoon we got from Deke kind of whips ass. The animation style is gorgeous, albeit perhaps a little too ambitious for its budget, and there were all sorts of memorable stories. Heck, it was one of the first jobs of J. Michael Straczynski, the creator of Babylon 5. Also, it had this absolute motherfucker, the Boogeyman. This piece of garbage scared the ever-loving bejesus out of me as a kid. I hate you, Boogeyman. I will destroy you. So Filmation was like, okay, alright, yeah, that's how you want to do things, is it? Fine, we'll make our own Ghostbusters cartoon based on our characters that nobody remembers, and we'll see how you like that. So 5 days before the premiere of the Deke cartoon, Filmation put out their Ghostbusters cartoon, and, well, observe.
Let's go, Ghostbusters!
So far, so good. What was that? Will you stop the monkey business?
I did it, Master. The Ghostbusters and the Dematerializer are in the scareway.
Excellent, my pet.
Obviously, this one didn't catch on as big with the kids. It was just a petty attempt to get some money out of a recognizable name. Not to be outdone in pettiness, however, Columbia named their cartoon The Real Ghostbusters. And you have to admire the grapes on these clowns. Their cartoon came second, based on a movie franchise that also came second, and they had the nerve to call themselves The Real Ghostbusters. What an absurdly mean-spirited way to make your product legally distinct from its competitors. And it worked! The big company was able to just muscle out their competition because everybody recognized their version of the Ghostbusters. It did seem like the real Ghostbusters. They were certainly the ones that I would have recognized, and they were certainly the ones that I would have wanted to watch. When I was a kid, I kind of assumed that the Filmation one was like way older than the Deke version. It was just so dated, even at the time. It didn't stand a chance. Kids don't understand the nuances of copyright law, mostly because copyright law is nonsense designed to insulate huge companies from having to compete with people with vision and actual interesting ideas. I didn't care who came first. I wanted to watch Egon, the only Ghostbuster I cared about as a child, fight crazy-looking monsters. And I don't know what the lesson is here. Neither of these companies really comported themselves well in this fight. And frankly, screw both of them for the predatory way that they advertised to children to sell little hunks of plastic. I certainly have fond memories of one of the cartoons, and extremely indifferent memories of the other, but I don't really think that Columbia should have gotten away with how badly and how insultingly it screwed over Filmation. At the end of the day, these companies want it both ways. They get to take the name Ghostbusters and do what they want with it, and their legal team will cross their T's and dot their I's to make sure they can. But if I wanted to play even a few seconds of the Ghostbusters theme song in this video, you'd better believe I'd get a copyright claim. I'll probably get one either way just for the small bits of video footage I use. I guess it just goes to show that when big media companies make a decision, there's not much you can do to stop them. Even if the law or the rules as written are on your side, money talks. Nope, completely fuck this. Hello everyone, thanks for watching my video. Busting makes me feel very good. Would you like to like and subscribe? Be my guest. Have a blast. I release new videos most Tuesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so stick around. You can hear me talk about horror movies. You can hear me talk about just horror movies. I don't know why I started this sentence as though I was going to list other things I talk about, because it's really just horror. So that's my thing. If you like that, this is a good place to get it. Okay, bye.